get it in.
Okay. Go ahead
Mhm.
and sip on that. Ladies and gentlemen, one more time, let's listen to Mukali words.
Thank you. All right, so let's see this next piece. I This is a newer piece, and I found myself in just watching the news and paying attention to all that happens in our world and the challenges that come with being sometimes othered, perhaps. And I just want to address that. Um, I'm not going to, I think, explain it too much. Uh, but yeah, let's get into this piece. Um, hmm. the world, the world be so big and busy and small and tight and loud and broken and beautiful. Beautiful. If you tilt your head and look at it in the light, the world makes one wanna love and also fight for love and light and darkness too, because the eyes beg the rest and retreat of night, and the skin begs the caress of sunlight. And I ain't been quite right or healed after reminders that a doctor who dared to also be black can beg that the oath be for her too, and can have her cries denied like she be beyond pain or wounding, or be unworthy of the work it requires to ensure black women don't expire, because black women be too strong, see. Black women be too magic. Black women who did it right, retrieved the education, became doctor, loved, lived, breathed, dared to breathe and strive, and could yet and still be denied care. The harm was done. Oath be damned, the harm was done. Harm was done. Horror story plays on repeat. Woman doctor killed at the hands of doctors' discriminating taste. See, imagine the audacity of believing you could be black and unwell, life threateningly unwell, and expect no harm. No horror, no tragedy. I crack, I snap, I see my faith fall apart as things do. I rage inside and cry outside and try to remember hope. In this broken world, I try to tilt my head to the side and see it beautiful. But my neck remembers the tilt too well, knows that that neck tilt be for the trees, and the trees transform. See, the trees become trials that also tilt the neck. The trials also look like traffic stops and worship service gone wrong, and the head tilts and the neck tries to survive, and neckties and the right abbreviations and enough commendations and enough trophies and championships and enough. I've had enough. I'm not as tough as they will tell you we are, so that when they kill us, they can say we be strong enough to take it though. Strong enough, strong enough to break, strong enough to be the collective back to stand on. But the thing is, if you break the back you stand on, won't you fall too? Which is to say, it ain't safe to break us. It ain't safe to break us. It ain't safe to break the black, the brown, the marginalized, the lives that you cringe to hear matter. The plot gets fatter, the wake breaks the tilted neck. The weight breaks the tilted neck. The weight breaks the tilted neck that tried to see this big, small, busy, loud, tight, broken world. Beautiful.
Yes, Mukali words.
This
What was the name of that one?
the world. I'm very like I'll say this about my titles as just a qualifier. Like sometimes I struggle to find titles because I write a lot. And I think that like I'm just like, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Okay, what does it start? So um it's a working title. It's very new. This is like brand new. So right now it's called The World. I don't know if that will remain the title, but Yeah.
I thought it was, but I didn't want to assume. I love your poetry. You cram a lot of images
Mm.
into your piece, and I don't know what your written page looks like, but in my mind, I can imagine one of these Rain Man type pages with like words going all the way to the margins, you know,
Yes.
like all
Yes.
outside the lines. I love it.
Can
Um,
I show you? Because as you're saying that, I'm like, I've never heard somebody come to that conclusion about like my writing, but it is so on point that I'm like, I gotta show you what this
Show
looks.
me.
So like,
I love it. I love it. I'm a visual artist. I'm a visual artist, so
all day.
in my mind, that's exactly how it sounds. Like you're trying, like, and why more poets don't suck the life out of every living word? I don't know. And when I don't, I criticize, you know, I jump on myself, but then I think sometimes too, uh, we try to dumb it down for people, for the average person.
And I think for myself, like, I don't want to do that. I want people to work for it. And that's not to say I want it to be lofty or above heads, but I want there to be enough good stuff that like you could come back to a piece and come back to a piece and come back to a piece, and every time you experience three new things. Like I don't even just want it to be one thing, like three new things. Like I didn't realize this part, this part, this part. That's what's up. Do it again.
Exactly,
No,
exactly.
you know what I mean? Like, and it's not even on purpose, honestly. Sometimes it's just that, like, I'm looking to find. Somebody said this thing, I'm not sure the exact quote, right? But it was something to the effect of like an artist, right? Uh, they approach a stone, and it is not that they necessarily have a vision always in their head of what the stone will be, right?
Right,
But they begin to chisel. And as they chisel, they find the art inside the stone, right?
exactly.
And I don't know, again, like I don't know who exactly said this, but I know that it's not my own original thought. I heard it somewhere. But I think that poetry sometimes is that too, where it's like I may not know where it's going to end, right? I may
Yes.
not know where exactly it's going to go, but when I pick up my pen and I put it on the page, I'm looking for what it will be, you
I had
know?
a conversation with Natalie Wood, who performed yesterday,
Mhm.
and I explained to her I wrote a poem where I once said, when we write a poem,
Mhm.
we don't know whether it's going to end up as a rocket ship or a
Yeah.
game of pickup sticks. You
Right.
know,
That's
or it could
right.
be anything in between.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the difference between poetry and art and
Mhm.
math. Because 1,000 years from now, when we're all dust,
Right.
1 plus 1 will still equal 2.
Right. Right.
That's not going to change.
Yeah.
So, wow, that's so beautiful, and the world is such a beautiful uh piece. Um,
Thank you.
I love I love how you set up that the world is a beautiful place, but then
Mhm.
you also break down that it uh, people make it
Ugly.
not so ugly. Yeah,
Yeah.
ugly by the way they choose to behave, and then you brought in. Correct me if I'm wrong. You brought in an allusion to lynching when you
Yeah.
were talking about the trees being bent.
Absolutely. The neck being tilted, right? Where it's like you ever like when you're going, you see something like either passing by or you're at a museum, and you're looking at art, there's like a tendency I feel subconsciously to tilt the neck, right?
Right.
Or your head, and it's to see. what other angles are existing here that might also be beautiful, right? Or am I like, what exactly is it that I'm seeing, right? And I thought about it because I think that in times that, you know, we're reminded over and over and over again that we are not very far from, you know, I love the picture in your background. We're not very far from that picture of Martin Luther King on this bus. Like we're not far from freedom riders. We're not far from like all of the same narratives. Like it's way too close to be such a seemingly far away time, you know. And um I try to, I think I'm an empath, right? Like
Okay.
severely so. And so I think that like it's really hard for me sometimes to watch the news. It's really hard for me, and not to say just me. Like I'm sure anybody, if you have a pulse and you're feeling something, it's hard, right?
Right.
Um, but it's like I can't always let myself see everything at a time because it could delay me for the whole, like it could shut me down for a day. And it's like I wrote that piece because I had, you know, one of those days where I did not scroll past something that I knew was going to be a hard story, but I was just like, what is this? And it was the story of this woman who was a doctor recent new, and like she was asking for care. She had been diagnosed with COVID, was asking for care. She knew exactly what kind of treatment she was supposed to have. She was refused the type of care she asked for. She was refused tests she asked for, and she died. And I was just like, too much. It's too much, you know.
You know what, you hit a certain nail. I had a conversation with a friend of mine last night who wanted to get into the whole conversation, and I said, you know, I give up. And
Yeah.
I give up from the standpoint of I'm not saying COVID isn't real, but what I'm saying is there are problems that we've had in within the world and within the community,
Mhm.
um, that makes uh, one person once said, if white people have a cold, black folks got pneumonia. And that's
Mm.
one of the reasons. That's one of the reasons. One of the reasons why. Um, but unfortunately, we don't have a heck of a lot of time. So
Right.
um, we definitely need to discuss this again, and I definitely want to have you back on poetry again. And you know, if I can get you to stay a little bit later to read another poem, I definitely will. But here's what I want to do right now.